Okay, let's follow up on a couple of different stories that we've been covering for some time. You might remember that sort of in the middle of the 2020 era of the pandemic, there was this plot to kidnap the Democratic Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and a number of people were arrested for that. We have now learned what the consequences will be for one of the co-conspirators, I guess we would call them there, a Michigan man who admitted to taking part in an extremist group's plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer in retaliation for COVID restrictions, was sentenced yesterday to over 6 years in prison. The man is 25-year-old Ty Garbin, is the only person to have pleaded guilty out of the more than a dozen men facing state and federal charges stemming from the plot. So understand that this guy got more than 6 years. He pleaded guilty and cooperated. The others are presumably going to trial. And this guy still got 6 years. So just think about what might be coming for some of the other individuals here. 5 of those charged in federal court pleaded not guilty and faced trial in October. U.S. District Judge Robert Jonker sentenced Garbin to 75 months in prison, 3 years of probation, and a $2,500 fine. During the sentencing hearing, Garbin apologized to Whitmer, who was not present. This guy essentially threw himself at the mercy of the court, pleaded guilty, cooperated, and apologized, and still got more than 6 years. At least in theory. Of course, it'll depend on exactly what charges all others are convicted of, if at all. You could be looking at way longer prison sentences for the others. The individual, Ty Garbin, said, quote, "First, I would like to take this opportunity to apologize to Governor Gretchen Whitmer and her family. I've had a lot of time to reflect on my actions, and I never realized what my actions would have caused to her, but also her family. I can't even imagine the amount of stress and fear her family members felt because of my actions, and for that, I am truly sorry." Garbin also apologized to his friends and family. "I never took into consideration the emotional effect that my actions would take on them, and for that, I was truly selfish to not take into consideration my family members that have meant so much to me." He expressed the desire to continue to de-radicalize himself and help prevent others from becoming radicalized and going down the same path. So that's great if that stuff is true. It very well might be completely disingenuous, and what his lawyer said, say this in order to get the lightest possible sentence. It doesn't really matter. He was willing to do it. And what I am, so two thoughts here, basically. First of all, they have to throw the book at these guys. It has to be made very clear that it is not it is not a serious modern society if you can plot to kidnap one of the top state official, the governor, and get away with a slap on the wrist. It can't happen. And so this is a guy who expressed remorse, genuine or disingenuous, I don't know, but he expressed remorse. He cooperated. He is getting all the right buzzwords. I want to de-radicalize myself, and I apologize to everybody, and pleaded guilty, and more than 6 years in prison he will now have to do. The other 11 individuals, and again, only some of those we know sort of the path to trial that is taking place, but the other up to 11 individuals, could they end up with more than a decade in prison? We don't know. We'll have to wait. But this is exactly the way that this needs to be handled, because this is extraordinarily serious. And unfortunately, there's this very similar dynamic with the January 6th Trump rioters. And we've started to see some of those sentences come in. We covered one on the bonus show 2, 3, maybe it was more like 4 weeks ago. And we can kind of argue over, okay, 8 years, 12, 6, 15, and then if for good behavior and prison overcrowding, they'll probably serve half. Whatever ultimately is the number of days and weeks and months that these individuals serve, it has to be made very clear that this is what they did on January 6th was worse than just showing up and trespassing at a business, right? Like on paper, the literal charges that might be there, isolated from the political reality and the movement and the mob mentality that was part of what was going on, might not be as bad as 10, 12 years in prison. But that the overall event that they participated in and its relationship to having a functioning democracy, et cetera, makes it worse. There's sort of an enhancement component there that has to be taken into consideration. And I hope that we see the book thrown at the Trump rioters from January 6th, as much as hopefully the book will continue to be thrown at the accused here, if they are found guilty, of course, or if they strike plea deals when it comes to the plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer. And it's actually crazy that because of all the different things that were going on at this time, and because of the complete daily scandal of the Trump administration at the time that this was going on, this feels like it was a relatively minor story and a long time ago. But this is crazy. This is crazy. A concerted effort to kidnap a governor, and so far one down and many more to go. Ty Garbin will have to spend more than 6 years in prison, maybe only 3 for good behavior, right? We'll have to see about that, but we'll continue to follow other sentences that come forward.